Hello, everyone. We are struggling with time, so we have to speed it up from the very beginning. Let me quickly introduce myself and then panelists. My name is Radman Šelmić. I'm advisor to the president of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Serbia, dealing with the green and circular economy. I have great honor and pleasure to moderate today this panel about circular economy. Unfortunately, Ms. Ramona Liberof couldn't come, but we'll have an interview with her, which kindly was made by Bojana, who is, as you I'm sure know, the founding partner and CEO of Sustainability Partners. So I would now kindly ask organizer to start showing the interview about circular economy. And let me just mention that Ramona Liberof is Executive Director of PACE, which is acronym for Platform for Accelerating Circular Economy.
Okay, well, we are now joining our panel on circular, and I'd like to greet you all and thank you for joining us. Thank our panelists. I have the huge pleasure to interview briefly Ramona Liberof, who is currently leading PACE, which is a global public and private partnership to accelerate circular economy. Ramona spent half of her career leading large insight and innovation teams for multinationals like Unilever, Pepsi, and HSBC. And since 2010, she has focused on intersection of international development and SDGs, finance, innovation, including leading the Spring Accelerator in East Africa and South Asia. She holds master degree from Yale and London School of Economics. We are very fortunate to have her today. Ramona, hello.
Hello, and it's such a privilege to take part. I really wish I could be there with everyone in person, but unfortunately, I had a prior commitment halfway around the world. That's the joys and the challenges of leading a global platform.
Thank you, but thank you for setting the time, and we very much look forward to seeing you in person in 2025.
Yes.
I've got a couple of questions for you. I mean, the topic is vast and the time limited. I mean, my first one would be looking at challenges we've got, because you'd think that with rapid development and technological advancements, you'd think that we possess all the necessary tools to effectively implement the true pillars of circular economy. Yet the reality seems to be the opposite. And what do you think, what are the crucial steps we are missing at present?
Thanks for the question. I mean, I think the first thing to say is that we don't actually have all the technology that we need. And even where we do have some of the technology, it's very partially applied. I'll give you an example. You know, everyone knows that in circularity, a big part of what we need to do is reduce overproduction. But even one of the most famous and well invested in technology companies, RenewCell, recently went bankrupt. And it wasn't really because of anything that they did or didn't do. It's because, first of all, we don't have the full tech stack that we need, and I'll talk a bit about that. But also there's other things besides technology that we really need to effect this transition. So first, on the technologies that we don't have yet, what we do see, and this is great to see, is a really rapid advance in things like traceability for digital product passports. So for where there is regulation, particularly in the EU leading the way, you have a raft of really innovative technology companies, and I know some are actually speaking at your summit on AI and blockchain solutions for traceability. However, there's a huge amount more that we need. For example, where are all the AI companies focusing on material efficiency or on new material creation? Where are all the incredibly advanced recycling investments? We need 200 to 400 million of capital to close the copper advanced recycling gap. There's so many more technologies that we need. However, even if we had all of those technologies and all of those investments, circular economy is really what we call a social technology. It actually requires a deep change in how we think about resources. Right now, to be honest, we don't think about resources because we don't have to. Our most profitable ways of operating are those that are the least resource efficient. And that is leading us to a coming crunch in many sectors. For example, the needs for transport, built environment, and electrification of everything are all colliding around the same materials. So what we really need to do is harness technology and change mindsets in order to be able to meet the moment.
I mean, very interesting, and we will be actually tackling the critical raw materials sort of topic, and we'll have some of the telephone providers with us. And I do know, maybe you could tell us a bit about that initiative that you're leading, about sort of extracting some of those materials from sort of what we have, rather than only looking at getting new ones from under the ground.
Yes, indeed. I mean, part of what we do is we make sure we're led by the science, and the new Global Resources Outlook, which has just been published by the International Resource Panel, which is to resources what the IPCC is to climate, has made it very clear that we cannot afford, as a world, to continue down a purely extractive path. The good news is, according to the Energy Transition Commission, if we were to implement the full set of circularity measures, and that includes everything from refusal, redesign, all the way down to recycling, we'd be able to meet 30 to 50% conservatively of the resources that we need. However, that does require us to rethink the way that we offer critical provisioning systems like energy and transport. For example, we can't afford as a world to replace every petrol fuel car with an EV. What we need to do, though, is to think about more shared transport. And even for things like electronics, it's been proven that if you have a sharing model or a reuse and repair model, you end up basically using one device where you would have had 7 in our current model. So it's absolutely achievable, but we really do have to think differently instead of maximizing the production of products the way we always have.
No, and it goes back to changing the ways we live. We will have a panel on smart cities, which will focus on the fact that ultimately we are most energy efficient in cities, provided they are smart cities, and we will be talking about that long-term planning as well. So, if you had a blank piece of paper and you were designing the next industrial revolution, how would you make sure, how do we make sure that circular is mainstreamed? How do we rethink the current systems? What would be your sort of few key points that we need to keep in mind, and us as a region as well?
Of course. Well, I mean, first, let's start about the systems that we need. When people think industrial production, they tend to think about cars or they tend to think about buildings, but actually all of our systems of production, including food and energy, need to be thought about differently. I'd say the second thing is it needs to be human-centric. What are we producing for, and how can we meet everyone's needs equitably across income levels, across populations? Because this is where also industry and democracy cannot be separated from each other. You need good jobs, but you also need affordable products that don't cost the earth, quite literally. So if you start from that position, you'd probably end up producing less, producing more shared goods, producing higher quality goods, and making sure that the externalities are priced in. Because, for example, if you're looking at organic food, people say, oh, organic food, it's unaffordable. But if you actually priced in the health cost of our current food production system, you'd find that organic was remarkably cheap at the price. Also, if you priced in biodiversity and nature loss. So we need to really rethink pricing at the same time and cost at the same time as we think about production.
I mean, it is, isn't it? And it goes back to sort of how do we price what's perceived as externalities sort of all together. Same would count for fossil fuels and coal in the region. I mean, the cost on our health systems is immense.
Yes, and our democracies. And I think we've learned something. Voluntary market pricing on things like carbon hasn't worked. There isn't enough of a strong push. So I'm afraid that what I'd also have to prescribe is the return of industrial strategy, a concerted push from the state in a coherent direction that creates the building blocks for an equitable future. We cannot do it without that effective public and private partnership.
Absolutely. But also, making the case for it being a business case. There being a business case, and that it goes back to the system of incentives that states are in a position to put in place.
Indeed so. And what I would say, I mean, although I admire the regulatory fervor of the European Union, there has been very little incentive and very little sort of either teeth or carrot. There's only been a lot of reporting requirements, which I'm afraid will not necessarily lead us in the direction that we need. So we do need a blank sheet of paper. We need a rethink of all of our production systems. But I also think we have to get out of our minds that what is profitable today is the same as what will be profitable tomorrow. Because if we redo the equation, we come out in a very different place on the balance sheet.
Absolutely. And sort of to finish off, we talk about sort of new generation as you know, we do hope that they'll embrace this agenda overall more enthusiastically than we do. And I do think they will, because they're more acutely aware of the risks of not doing so. I mean, what's your view? What's your impression? Because we will spend a lot of time at a summit talking about, you know, building a region for this and future generation, talking to young people. Employers are increasingly meeting them as future employees. Companies are meeting them as future customers. Do you think that they are a crucial part of this change that we will deliver because of different mindset they've got?
I have to say, I will not let anyone older than 30 off the hook on this. If you still look at who controls power in our systems, it's really people. I mean, our average age of politicians and even the average age of countries like Germany is already in our 50s. So I think sometimes the pressure that we put on the youngest generations to be the bearers of the cause, they can hold us accountable. But I actually think we all have a duty of stewardship to the future,
Absolutely.
Not just to their generation, but ongoing. And we have to hold those in power to account. And the way to do that is through democracy and also through a relevant scale up of innovation.
Absolutely. And as sort of every year we get a new cohort of 18-year-olds being the voters. I think that's exactly the shift you're seeing throughout continents, actually.
Indeed. Indeed.
But I absolutely agree. You know, if this generation doesn't act, it'll be too late for the next generation to be able to do much.
Yep. And the best thing young people can do is vote. There's a big campaign right now to go and vote in the coming European elections, because that will determine the course of climate and nature policy. Are we ambitious or do we regress? So all I would say to the young is, like, you know, it doesn't matter about avocado toast. Please just go and vote.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And now I regret even more that you won't be with us in person, Ramona. This was fantastic. Thank you very, very much. We wish you safe travels to US and look forward to seeing you, as they say, with us next year.
Thank you, Bojana, and to the whole team, and I wish you a wonderful conference.
I believe this was a great introduction to the discussion we'll have. Today, Bojana, I will start with you. As far as you know, you have been living in Norway for 6 years. That part of the region and Nordic countries in general are probably the most advanced in Europe when it comes to circular economy, when it comes to ecological standards. And so now you're managing director of TOMRA collection for Serbia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. Could you tell us, please, a bit more about technological solutions, maybe operational solutions, which your company implements globally and also which implements in this region? What kind of knowledge and technology is transferable? Maybe what kind of knowledge of technology is not transferable in the region because of some issues or problems?
Thanks, Radman. Yes, of course. When we look the area where we operate, which is beverage packaging for drinks, we know that currently around 500 billions of plastic packaging is placed on the market globally every year. And currently less than 3% is collected and recycled in the same or similar products, which means that there is a vast majority that actually ends up either incinerated or in a landfill or ends up, unfortunately, in nature. Around 8 million tons of plastic ends up in our seas and oceans every year. So through our technology, what we are doing now, we are collecting around 46 billion annually, but that's really just a piece. Of course, the idea is that we collect way more by kind of scaling the technology infrastructure so the consumers, when they kind of get aware that of empty plastic packaging as a valuable resource that they have where to return, but also in implementing some nationwide systems where we can support the governments with our knowledge, best practices, know-how that we are bringing from 40 different markets where we operate. And this is what we are trying to do also here. So from raising awareness to doing a lot of educational campaigns, especially for young people and children, to grow population, so that we can turn the mentality that we have currently. As waste is an outdated concept, and we need to start thinking about every product that we make as a valuable resource that we need to keep as long as possible in the cycle of use, reuse, or recycle.
I believe that was really insightful and rich. Your Excellency, I would now ask you, you are heading NGO, Petrović Njegoš Foundation. I believe that the whole NGO sector in that ecosystem, which is in the field of green transition, is usually underestimated. So how do you see the role of NGO sector in green transition, in circular economy, and in particular, how do you see the role of NGO sector of your foundation in this country, in the Adria region? What are the specificities, what are the particularities of the country and the region in that sense?
Dear friend, and I want first to thank and to congratulate the organizer of this summit. And it's so a big pleasure to be in so nice place with so nice people and with so green energy. Yes, and I think this the position in Montenegro, the NGO has a very important role. Why? You see, first, it's constitutional, where we are ecological states, and it's very important that the young generation and who are activists in the NGO are more and more present, active, and I am very happy to that. For the foundation, we have 3 different fields of activity. Solidarity, and after ecology, yes, and cultural activity. Before foundation, I was create Bojana contemporary art in Cetinje, and it was my first engagement in Montenegro. And now we, in the field of ecology, we are not supporting, but to promote new technology, new innovation. When I saw this new technique, I think it was really completely adapted for Montenegro. The small station for pyrogazeification, who are with laser, while the problem of waste in Montenegro are a big problem. And I met before 2 years a startup in Italy who developed this system with laser, with the University of Lancaster. And I think it's a very good solution. What it's small is just 2 containers. You can have a station and have a good treatment process for waste, and with a good performance, energy performance. The second is, maybe you will be surprised, is a French company who developed startup, is a young company, but develop a system to adapt the thermic motor for compressed air. It's meant that zero combustion, zero emission, zero battery, zero risk. And this adaptation can be for all the thermic and electric motor. And electric motors, they make prototype, and it's a very good solution. Why? It's the same system for all kind of motor, and it's a solution to we don't need batteries, and in the future it will be a problem. And it's low technology and low cost, and I think it's very adapted for small country like Montenegro. And if you want, I can speak more about this project.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, following some ESG standards, I will give the floor to Milena first. I'm sure Mr. Rafuna would support me. So, Milena, I know you're quite active in your chamber of economy. Could you please tell me what are the main challenges in Montenegro when it comes to transition from the, let's say, linear traditional model to circular economy? I know we have been discussing this topic many times, but could you please single out what would be the main challenges and also how your chamber intends to address these challenges?
So I will point out three main challenges which were highlighted in the previous panel one way or the other, because they're mostly the ones who are always the dominant when we talk about not just Montenegro but the region of the Western Balkans. The first one is level of knowledge and the awareness, which we need to know that by implementing green agenda for the Western Balkans, there was at the beginning, like more than 3 years ago, it was just they give the specific guidelines how that we are going to green the region. But however, the level of the knowledge was quite low. So when we embarked in the journey for the circular economy more than 2 years ago, when we mapped out potential stakeholders in Montenegro, we have said that the level of knowledge about circularity, most of them didn't know what it is, and the ones that they did, they thought it was waste management. So in a way, we started to educate and to try to motivate people to understand what circular economy is, that it is not just waste management, that it is not just recycling, that it goes far beyond, that it's a complete systemic shift and different model. That will be the first one which we map up, and we are focusing the answer to all these, the documents, besides from the documents that were made, to make a hub in the chamber, which would serve as a one-stop shop for all the circular initiatives and solutions, and provide best practices, and among all networking among business sector, not just in Montenegro, but also throughout the region. The second point where we see the challenges, definitely which was mentioned in the last panel also, is financing, providing green lines for the businesses, because not just by giving the low rates for the credits that should be green, let's say, for the private sector, if they want to make a green investment, to have easier access to the funds, but also the incentives from the national level, who should support in a way green investments by, for example, lower tax rates for the businesses who want to invest, or maybe businesses circular or green. And the third, the most important one, is legislative framework. Sometimes the legislative framework can be a good, let's say, motivator to go into some practices, or it can hold you behind. So basically, if you provide a good legislatory framework which can give a support to circular economy, which is not now the case in the Western Balkans, mostly it's transposing legislative from the chapter 27, which is quite complicated, comprehensive and expensive chapter in negotiation process, and it's quite complicated to implement, especially in the country small as Montenegro, but all throughout all the Western Balkans. So if we want to make just an environmental laws, then we also need to implement them, not just enforce them, and to see how is it possible to implement them. Some of them not. On the other hand, the Green Deal has huge amount of legislative with it. So it doesn't mean that we in Montenegro or any countries of the Western Balkan need to push so much legislative framework in a way that it's complicating the process, but also we want to push the process, but making a nice, quick legislative solution. So I'm not just saying you make a new law, but rather to adjust the law that we already have in order to support the circular transition, which is now, I think, happening in most of the strategies and documents, but let's see how that is going to function in practice. And also, I will end now. I will just add the problem of the waste management in Montenegro. Also, although the circular economy is not waste management, but if you don't have the proper regulation of the waste management in the country, you cannot proceed. You're talking about fragmented solutions, not about systemic change. So some companies might do some, but that is just some example that they're giving. You're not making the real change. So basically, the waste management is rather low in Montenegro, and the new law, which is currently it was adopted like 15 days ago. We hope they will set up a new rules in the country for the waste management, and then enhance the circularity.
Okay, thanks, Milena, for the answer. Mr. Rafuna, building up on what Milena explained, what are the substantial challenges in Montenegro, how would you describe what are the challenges when we talk about the whole Western Balkan 6 region, and what Chamber Investment Forum for the Western Balkan 6 has done or is planning to do in order to address these challenges for the whole region when it comes to circular economy, waste management, and so on?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, Milena has right. Here in Balkan, we have the same challenge. I mean, approximately we are in the same level. But it's good because inside the Western Balkan 6 Chambers Investment Forum, which is established from 6 chambers of Western Balkan states here in the Balkan, plays the key role in by actively leading the common regional market in industrial sector. And inside of this mechanism, which is only one mechanism established from the private sector in Balkan, we representing 375,000 companies, which employs 7 million people here from the Balkan. What we have done inside the Western Balkan 6 Chambers Investment Forum, we have established the Western Balkan Green and Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. This platform will provide the framework to exchange experience, best practice, lesson, plus technical experience. So, which is necessary for all stakeholders, which they can learn from this platform. And also, main objectives of this platform is to establish the regional network, which including the public and private sector, to enhance the dialogue, and to provide policy making recommendation and to promote the circular economy at regional but also on local level. So the second objective of this platform is to enhance cooperation among activities in the region, both a strategic and operation level. To establish cooperation with the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform, and to conduct awareness and raising campaigns, and hence enhancing regional partnerships and beyond. That means through this platform, the idea is to exchange the experience, to exchange the recommendation, together to all the challenges we have to solve. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bojana, I'm getting back to you. Taking into account your significant experience, what solutions have been most effective in terms of circular economy, and what are the most important challenges? Because you have good insight, taking into account that you are managing director for Serbia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. What these countries have in common when it comes to challenges as well?
Before I answer that question, I would just like to briefly reflect back on why are we talking, especially in the domain of where we operate, about circularity of resources. there is a day in a year called Earth Overshoot Day. That is a date when the human population has already used all the planet's resources that Earth can regenerate in that 1 year. And last year that was the 2nd of August, and this year it's predicted to be on 25th of July. So this period is getting shorter and shorter. So it's really not sustainable the way how we are consuming and using Earth's resources today. And for us as TOMRA, we think that first and foremost, the most important element to tackle this challenge are actually businesses and companies that have both power but also responsibility to take action and help manage Earth's resources through more sustainable products, more durable products, more sustainable operations, less emissions, and similar. The second, and I would second what Milena mentioned also, is legislative framework, because this is the only way how we can scale, especially recycling and reuse practices on a larger level and nationwide. And one such legislation in the domain of beverage packaging, for example, is deposit return system, which is a system where we add a small incentive when consumer buys a beverage at the store, financial incentive, which is then refunded to consumer when they return it to the designated place. So in a way, it's like borrowing the container and buying the drink. And these systems are proven to have more than 90% effectiveness in collecting everything that is placed on the markets. And many markets around us currently are implementing, like Romania and Hungary that just recently started. And I think it's very common in our region. There is still a lot of unresolved challenges, one of those being this beverage packaging that is currently ending like a lot in a landfill. But what I have seen since I started in this role is that there is willingness and there is a high motivation, and especially among consumers, to make some change. And some recent studies showing that more than 95% of consumers in this region are willing to support this kind of system in order to tackle the pollution.
Okay. Thanks, that was really insightful. Your Excellency, I would like to ask you about concrete project in Boka Kotorska. It's related to water waste management and reuse of water. How do you see that project aligns with the principles of circular economy? And do you think that what you spearhead, what you are leading in terms of that concrete project in Boka Kotorska is replicable, could be replicated somewhere else in Adria region?
Between these two technology can make a circular solution for problem waste, not only the process, but the transport. And why it is a big problem now during the summer, what the roads are very not easy, and we propose to make transportation of waste by boat, with a boat adapted with compressed air, boat completely ecological, and in the same time the station will produce energy. This energy will be transferred in compressed air, who will make alimentation of this boat. And you see what is very interesting, we can keep stockage energy with compressed air. And now we prepare a proposition for the Olympic Games to make a presentation of this boat with compressed air, like the President Macron in France want to make a presentation of new technology, French technology, so ecological too, during the manifestations, the different competition, and the aquatic competition. We propose to present two boats who can work with compressed air, and after to make promotion for the system, after this boat will come back, go in Boka Kotorska, and we will make this demonstration in Boka Kotorska. In the same time, we try to what this station with laser can make a treatment of sludge. And the big problem now they have is the sludge, where they can no more send to Albania, and you have accumulation of so. And we was speaking with the mayor of the equipe, the team of the municipality of Tivat, and it will be, we will propose a solution to resolve with this station to dry the sludge, so we can make pyrogasification, transform in energy, and this energy can be useful to dry the sludge before they can be treated. And so it will be good, and maybe I think that in Budva is the same problem. They have the same problem, and so you see it's between French, Boka Kotorska, Budva, and so it's like a small circular project. Yes.
Milena, now getting back to you and your role in chamber and overall activities of the chamber, could you tell us more concretely what initiatives, what innovations has your chamber developed so far in the concrete dialogue with the private sector, and if you have any kind of comment or feedback or insight, how these initiatives have impacted the community or actually impacted the environment?
Firstly, I would just briefly go through the activities that we have in these parts. We have developed a roadmap for the circular economy more than 2 years ago. Together with the ministry, we have also mapped the national strategy for the circular transition. We support them in this way, and we have also recently published a study. It was published before, but now it's translated and in a way modified for a study for the packaging and packaging waste in Montenegro, and the introduction of DPR systems, which are known to put extended producer responsibility system. If someone from the public doesn't know what it is, and I suppose that not everybody knows, but they are supposed to be there for setting up the new lawn waste management, but also what Bojana mentioned about DRS systems and APR, how could they function in parallel in Montenegro. So those are some frameworks that we did, like, let's say, documents, but of course, through all the workshops and the sessions, we're trying to raise awareness and to motivate business to go into circularity. Or as I mentioned before, we have organized the hub. The hub is meant to be a first informative platform, but afterwards to provide education and a resource library for all the interested companies to access and gain knowledge about circularity, network among themselves, and to make together with us an impact in the way that they seem feasible. But at this moment, I would rather say that initiatives are still fragmented, and the people who want, they come directly to us, and we provide them with what we can offer them as a service, depending on what sector they are doing their business. Mostly, let's say, maybe because it's the impacted sector in Montenegro is sector of the tourism. So the hotel chains are usually the ones who really want to cooperate and to make a change in their business operations, and of course the multinational companies. But of course, as I mentioned, the waste management law, which is currently, which is adopted recently and has been drafted for a while, and it's transponing the Waste Framework Directive and Packaging Waste Directive, is now something which will affect the whole private sector of the Montenegro. So we basically are preparing them throughout the workshops and trying to make the proper bylaws to set up the whole producer system in Montenegro, which will tackle six waste streams in Montenegro. One of them is packaging. So the packaging will be now made through EPR systems, which will definitely, to set up the PR producer responsibility organization in Montenegro, which is now let's say a problem to move from 0 to 1 to make an impact of the private companies, because they don't know how the system works. So we basically want to educate them how to make circularity of the resources, or making resources available, so they're not thrown away. So they will circulate, and the PROs will have the ownership of the waste, and then can sell it or resell it on the market. So basically, I know in Serbia there is a couple of them already functioning, and the DRS system is already talking to be set up. I mean, in Montenegro, it's kind of now a long shot for a DRS together with the EPR, but we are discussing that it could be made in forthcoming years once we set up the EPR for packaging.
Thanks, Milena. Mr. Rafuna, final question for you. So, taking once again into account that broader perspective, taking into account 6 economies, what is your opinion? What kind of technological solutions or infrastructural projects could boost that kind of circularity, which is across border, which is beneficial for the whole region and all 6 economies?
In fact, main 2 challenges are because the business is not fully informed what is the circular economy. And here we need to have more campaign, more information, more to advising the business, and they to see what is circular economy, which is the benefit from circular economy. That means knowledge. Secondary is financing. I mean, for the business is cost. And for that, in all 6 Western Balkan businesses, they asked us, we to do pressure to governments in positive sense, to give them time, they to be prepared. But in the same time, still we doesn't have fully framework legislation in place. For example, in Kosovo already now they have started to be discussed the sub-legal acts for DRS and for the others. And it's very important we to establish the dialogue public-private. And the governments to understand the needs of the businesses, and also the business to have time to be prepared, because the success of implementation will be where all the parties are in the board. And I think this is mainly 2 challenges, and here all the projects should be concentrated in financing to subsidize the business and to inform for the benefit of circular economy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rafuna. So that's it from our side in terms of our panel discussion. I'm opening the floor for questions from the public. So we have a question. Gentleman, second row. Yeah.
Regarding voting young people for EU. And also today, several times we heard about political winning.
Okay.
Believe it, when I sit with the businesses, when I sit with private sector, they doesn't have idea what is green. Now they have started when they have started to have access in EU market. When they started to ask them for the new rules and standards, now they have started thinking, hey, exists the green economy.
I think in Montenegro especially we need to be proud, and I think it's very important to have some action, some project, some realization, concrete thing that Montenegrin can be, it's possible, not only to say the civil society must be to work, but and we have to present new technology, to present a new solution, and that the people can be more engaged. And we were speaking about the NGO sector. During many years, the NGO sector was just to defend nature, to make. I remember what the Black Lake in Jablyak, when the mobilization was very big to defend the park, a natural park, and I think we need now to to go in more concrete action, and so this kind of new technology can be mobilized, and if they saw that you can have a car without any emission, or a boat, when I saw all these boats in the bay, I can say it will be nice if they have to change the motor, and so if we make the promotion, it will be valorization for the people to have this kind of new way for energy, and so it's little this, and what is important, that the most public-private was with the army. We propose to make a station for waste, mobile on a camion, and to engage maybe our army to be to begin to clean the country. Why? It's good to treatment of the waste we produce each day, but we have many places in Montenegro who are really in very bad situation with depot, sewage depot near the river, and so. And it will be a good sign if the army can mobilize with this kind of technology to go in the place to make the work. And I think it's important to have this impact of concrete realization.
Okay. Thanks to our panelists. I'm glad that we confirmed that in this region, principle of circularity is that everything starts and finishes with politics, which is also a European principle, even discussion about circular economy. Anyway, thanks to panelists, I believe it was rich and good discussion. Thanks to the audience, and good luck for the rest of the summit.